90% of folks say they want to use digital to manage their health care. This is a part of that sort of expansive view of experience that we talked about earlier. It's really critical to understand that experiences means a lot more than just that time that you spend directly interacting with a clinician. This is really a slide meant for marketing, for health system marketing people, but you'd be shocked at how many health system websites aren't responsive. I mean, it's dumb. It's crazy. We've built a universe that looks and feels the same regardless of how you access it, just as you would expect from any other consumer service or provider that you buy. When you walk into health systems, you still got people who are saying, oh, social media, that's for the kids. I am not quite 48, but I'm close, and I'm not a kid. I fit into this perfectly. Social media is a place where the majority of people now are at least seeing healthcare information, and many now are seeking. You post a question, only your friends and family can see it. So we were one of the first systems in the country to dive headfirst into what we called social persuasion, which is basically social patient acquisition, where we use Facebook aggressively as paid media. Facebook's targeting tools are shockingly specific and excellent. And so we see about a 7-to-1 ROI on all of our Facebook spend at this point. We spend about 10% of our marketing budget on Facebook alone. It's a wildly effective tool to get to people. Great stat that I don't have in here, but that and is about a year and a half old, so it's probably only gotten more at this point. So 1 out of every 5 minutes spent on mobile is spent on social. That people, that's all they do on their phones now. Ellen's doing it right now. I knew what you were doing. I know, I get it. It's really important. That's the main point. That's one of the ways that we think we can continue to maintain an advantage is by using social effectively, and Facebook really is. When I say social, what I really mean is Facebook. And Twitter's fine for a conversation. We can't get people to actually convert into customers through Twitter. We can get them through Google because they're looking for us. We can get them through Facebook because we have access to them, and we can target them very effectively. We can take our data, find all of our, we did this for Women's Heart Month. We took all of our women's heart patients for the last 2 years. If we have their email address or phone number, we can find them in Facebook. We created a custom audience in Facebook of just them. These are people who are our existing patients. Then we can take everything that we know about them in Facebook and create a lookalike audience, right? And you can slide up and down the correlation. So we looked at all of Metro Atlanta and built an audience that looked just like our women's heart patients. Then we pull our patients out because we don't need to remarket to them. And now we've got this awesome lookalike audience of people who are not our patients, and we serve a $99 women's heart screening to them over and over and over again. And we got, in that particular campaign, we had 22-to-1 ROI. It was magic. Facebook is insanely, there's so much you can do with Facebook that, that health systems aren't doing. It's wild. Anyway, where we want to get long-term with our website is a truly custom experience. Think of it this way, it's not the same thing, but it's basically the same idea, which is when you go on to Amazon, they know who you are. We want you to come to Piedmont.org, and we know who you are. And because we know who you are, we serve up information that is relevant to you. That's all building a digital relationship is about, is us consistently serving up content that is relevant to you. It keeps you engaged with us. So we've started on that with Cancer Wellness online. We call it Cancer Wellness Without Walls. So if you go to our Cancer Wellness page and click on a few things that you like, then we'll serve up content to you that is reflective of your specific needs. And the next time you come back, we know who you are. We'll keep serving that same kind of content up to you. It's a simple idea. You see it on every other thing that you use. You don't ever see it in healthcare. Don't know why. We're not that smart. We have an email subscriber list of about 500,000 to our monthly email. We segment it based on some big macro segments. But email is a very effective tool to keep people engaged. People constantly want to tell you that email is dead. It is not dead, and it will never die. 32% open rate, I think, on this. It's about a 14% click-through. We get really good engagement on our emails.
Do you see any kind of skew for your total population, like what segments over-index for
Cancer. Cancer over-indexes. Men's does well. That fluctuates month to month. It's like how well are we doing with our content? We create all of our own content too. We have our own content team, an executive producer, video editor, writer. Like we do all of this ourselves. And so cancer almost always overperforms. Heart doesn't perform as well. I don't know. A lot of it is based on the content and the design. We're always playing with our design, try to make it more interesting, give people another reason to click. Not yet. Where we want to go is to personalized, individualized marketing. I was mentioning to Ellen earlier, for me, one of the holiest of grails is a real CRM system. We've got CRM Lite. It functions well enough. But we went out with an RFP I'd say 4 months ago. We're down to ending the selection process. And when we're done building this thing out, it's going to allow us to create individual relationships with patients, which is what we're going to have to do. The dirty secret, don't tweet this. I have a plan. The plan is to take and I've already told you this. The plan is to take the relationship from patient to physician to patient to Piedmont. I'm very careful not to tell the doctors that specifically. It freaks them out. But that's where things have to go. And it's not only is it best for the system, it's best for the customer, and it's going to give us an ability to actually be their health partner, to actually help them manage their own health, which as a nonprofit, community-owned, mission-based organization is what we want to do, even if that works us all out of jobs. It's our stated mission. Right? We need to make a difference in every life we touch. Yes, sir?
You hear a lot, mostly from non-believers, connected about the creepiness of
Sure.
stockiness of, how do they know all this about here? Can you see any
Specific to the emails, not at all. Our emails unsubscribes are less than 0.5% a month. It's barely any. We go out. We haven't gone over that line, but as Facebook has proven again and again and again, it's important to keep going. So Facebook they'll always couch it under, oh, that was a mistake, but they're constantly going over the line just to see when people freak out, and then they go, oh, okay, that was too far. Let's take a step back. I'm comfortable with us doing that. Obviously, we're not. We're careful with people's data. We are bound by HIPAA to be extra cautious about privacy. Everybody who's getting this email agreed to get this email. We're never going to target individuals via an unsecure method with their own health information. But we can use data that we have about people to serve them better information about how to take better care of themselves. And we haven't gotten any pushback at all. I think I mentioned it before, there's this underlying trust that people have with Piedmont. We're careful not to violate it, but if we're not using it to its fullest to actually provide people with information that's relevant and useful to them, then what are we doing? right? Are we just a health store? Or just a medical store? You come in, you buy your procedure, and you leave? It's a bad place for us to be long term. Yes, sir.
In terms of building that relationship between the Piedmont and the patient, your friends at United are probably trying to build the same type of relationship between United and the patient.
Mm-hmm.
And these two streams, how do they work together or against each other? How have you seen it come to a head?
I personally have not seen it work together very well. We have more collaborative relationships with other payers, so I won't talk about United specifically. And in those cases, we do see results on quality in particular and costs. But I don't have a good solution to this problem. We're both necessary in some ways, and I mentioned, I think to Ellen or Sherry, somebody earlier, we do help generate the cost, right? Health systems are part of the cost problem. We recognize that. But between us and health plans, the consumer only trusts one of us to actually care about them. And so when United says to you, do something, you're like, oh, I know what they mean. They mean we want to spend less money on you. They only care about making money. Not that we don't care about making money, but we only need to make as much as we need to invest in our future. We don't have shareholders. And so I don't know where this is all going to end up, but if there has to be closer collaboration if we're ever going to make any real difference in the cost curve. Like, we make a difference in people's lives right now, every single day. But if we're going to make this a sustainable business long term, there's going to have to be more collaboration. But how do you create that? You don't have the kinds of negotiations and relationships that we've had with payers up to now, right? Like, every time we sit down at a negotiation table, they make it clear what's important to them. And if every member of a health plan could sit in that room, they could see it and hear it.